What's going on, everybody? There's something that I haven't really formally introduced to this channel yet. I know that I had mentioned it a lot, and it definitely showed it a lot. But I wrote A Child Called Home. And this book, A Child Called Home, is mainly for, the children who grew up in foster care, who don't have, the words for how they may be feeling internally. I wrote it because when you deal with challenges in life, especially, that level of abandonment that you may face as a kid, especially in foster care, but also, especially for myself, dealing with PTSD and maybe some of the people who also deal with PTSD, you don't always know where it stems from internally, how you're feeling, how to convey it, how to put it into words. And you also don't know how it's really going to start showing up in your life. But through repetition, through constant pressure of life, through fighting, at some point in time you learn to start facing what's truly been wrong with you, or what you're truly feeling on the inside. And through that repetition, you're slowly able to start to reframe, what's actually internally going on inside of you. And by being able to reframe all of those internal struggles, all those emotions, all those thoughts, you start to be able to use that for motivation. You motivate yourself to become the best version of who you can be. And that was one thing that has always stuck by my side my entire life, is that urge and that drive to always want to become the best that I possibly could. When I was a child, I used to use my father for an example. My father used to be that motivation of who I did not want to become. And that lingering urge of never wanting to be anything like him actually was that leading motivational for me. And through that really hard journey of internal processing and facing challenges and dealing with myself, and because I never allowed myself to fail, I was able truly to understand what was fully going on internally inside of me. And I was able to reframe it, and to now also be able to use that same level of motivation for a different purpose. I wrote this book for that little boy that was inside of me, who carried so much of that internal fear, that internal lost feeling, that internal sadness, that internal I wasn't able to talk or communicate with anyone. He needed a place to land, a place to sit, a place to be able to stay without feeling scared, without running. But mainly what he needed was a place to not feel alone in the world. And eventually I started to realize something, especially through my journey, that I had been there the entire time guiding him. The more that you're willing to trust the process, the more you give yourself that creative outlet. Something that can contain everything that's going on inside of you. The more that you realize you were never as alone as you thought. I wish I could have released this book sooner in my life. I know that I had mentioned many times that I've started this book, and this is the third time that I've started this book. The reason why I could not release this sooner in my lifetime is because I needed to live. I needed to fail, and I needed to learn through that trial and error. I had to become that kind of man that could hold this amount of pressure without breaking underneath it. Who could hold this level of vulnerability without lashing out in defense mechanisms. Who had the ability to articulate and communicate what had been building inside of me for many years. I had to learn how to self-regulate and learn how to truly start to master that. And at times that part is still a little difficult. But I also needed to learn how to breathe while everything in my life, aired itself out. And that's what Maine Legacy is built around. The company that I build based around my degree, based around my book, and based around the content that I'm creating, it's not just a brand and it's not just a company. It stands for that honor, that integrity, releasing the good, the bad, and the ugly, but not standing in those moments forever. It's about being able to find that inspiration inside of those moments, creation in them, integration in them. It's built with that level of passion. It's built with endurance. And it's built to stand the test of time. This is also why Spill the Tea, these videos are created, to show true authenticity. But it's built with humility involved. Because no matter what hurdles that you may go through in life, there is always that light at the end of the tunnel. And that is something that I've truly always believed. I've always tried to preach that to every single person that I've ever met in my entire life. The biggest downfall and the biggest hurdle that I had to face inside myself was to admit to myself that, I stayed in those places way too long, trying to preach these to people instead of just showing it. This time I chose to just show it, to show my children, to show my daughters what breaking generational curses actually looks like, to show what true dedication looks like, to show what chasing your dreams actually looks like when it's incredibly hard. I've never cared about fame. I've never cared about money. I've never cared about becoming something, people envied or inspired or looked up to be. I've always chosen to play that middle ground in life. That voice for a reason. The voice that can see both good and bad on both sides of the spectrum. And the biggest thing that I had to choose for myself my entire life was I always chose to keep my heart intact. I didn't harden my heart. I didn't become bitter and cold and resentful, but intact. A beacon of light and love, if you will, of inspiration. I have failed so many times. A lot of those times are because of my own stupid decisions that I had to learn by trial and error. A lot of the other decisions that were just outside of my control. I was in rooms and I was around people that just weren't meant for me. And you have to be willing to admit that. You have to be willing to not only admit that, but learn from that. Learn from those downfalls and those struggles. And that is what built me, and that's what has built you. No one, and I don't care who you are, no one in this world can take your heart. No one can take your words from you, and no one can take your ideas. But adversity will test your true character. You don't have to live with the beliefs of other people's. You don't need everyone to understand you. As long as you have you, you will never be alone. And when you truly start to learn that in life, you don't have to force that inspiration. You become it. If this resonated with you, the book is now available. The link is in the description. Thank you guys.